Long ago, in the cold and rugged lands of the north, the Vikings carved their stories into stone. These were not just ordinary rocks. They were runestones, filled with magic, mystery, and the whispers of the gods. Each runestone was a message from the past, a way for the Vikings to honor their dead, remember their heroes, and call upon the power of the ancient gods. Today we will journey into the world of Norse Runestones and Viking mythology, where giants, gods, and brave warriors walked the earth. The Vikings believed in a world full of spirits, gods, and strange creatures. Their stories were not written in books, but passed down through spoken words and carved into stones. The runestones were like letters from the past, telling tales of battles, love, and the favor of the gods. The runes themselves were more than just letters. They were magical symbols. Some said Odin, the Allfather, discovered the runes after hanging from the world tree, Yggdrasil, for 9 days and nights. He sacrificed himself to himself, and in that moment of pain and wisdom, the runes appeared before him. From that day on, the Vikings used these sacred symbols to protect themselves, to curse their enemies, and to speak with the gods. One of the most famous runestones is the Rök Runestone in Sweden. It stands tall, covered in strange and beautiful carvings. The words on it are a puzzle, a riddle meant for those who understand the old ways. Some believe it tells of a great battle. Others think it speaks of the end of the world. Ragnarök, when the gods will fight the giants and the earth will burn. The Rök Runestone is like a doorway into the Viking mind, showing us how they saw the world as a place of struggle, glory, and destiny. The Vikings did not fear death as others did. They believed that a brave warrior who died in battle would be taken by the Valkyries, the fierce maidens of Odin, to Valhalla, the great hall of the slain. There, they would feast and fight until the final battle at Ragnarök. Many runestones were raised in memory of these warriors. One such stone tells of a man named Ulf, who fed the ravens in many lands. This was the Viking way of saying he was a great fighter, for the ravens were the birds of Odin, and they feasted on the dead after battle. But not all runestones spoke of war. Some told of love and family. A stone from Denmark tells the story of a woman named Thyra, called the Pride of Denmark by her husband, King Gorm. She was so loved that he raised a great stone in her honor, and even today, her name whispers across the centuries. Other stones were raised by fathers for their sons, by brothers for their lost siblings, and sometimes by travelers who never returned home. Each one is a piece of a life, frozen in stone. The gods themselves often appeared in these carvings. Thor, the thunder god, with his mighty hammer Mjolnir, was a favorite. The Vikings called upon him for protection, and many wore small hammer charms around their necks. Loki, the trickster, was also there, sometimes helping the gods, sometimes causing chaos. The runestones show us how the Vikings saw their gods not as perfect beings, but as powerful, unpredictable forces, much like nature itself. One of the most mysterious runestones is the Kensington runestone, found in America. Some say it is proof that the Vikings reached the New World long before Columbus. The stone tells of a group of Norse travelers who came to a strange land, only to meet disaster. Many scholars argue whether the stone is real or a clever fake, but the idea of Vikings in America has captured the imagination of many. The runestones were not just history. They were also magic. The Vikings believed that carving the right runes in the right way could heal the sick, bring good harvests, or even curse an enemy. A rune master, someone who knew the secrets of the symbols, was a powerful person in Viking society. To know the runes was to hold a piece of the gods' power. As Christianity spread through the north, the old ways began to fade. The runestones changed too. Some were carved with crosses, mixing the old beliefs with the new. But even then, the Vikings did not forget their gods. They simply added new stories to the stones, new names, new prayers. Today, the runestones still stand in the fields and forests of Scandinavia, silent but full of voices. They remind us of a time when the world was filled with gods and giants, when a man's name could live forever if it was carved into stone. They tell us that the Vikings were not just warriors, but poets, explorers, and believers in something greater than themselves. So the next time you see a runestone, remember, it is not just a rock. It is a piece of the past, a story waiting to be heard. And perhaps, if you listen closely, you might hear the echoes of Thor's hammer, the call of Odin's ravens, or the whisper of a Viking's last words, forever carved in stone. This is the legacy of the Norse Runestones, a bridge between our world and the world of Viking myths, where gods walked among men, and the stones themselves could speak.